In a shocking twist, the recent Romanian election saw an unexpected surge from far-right candidate Călin Georgescu. And this wasn't a gradual climb through traditional political means. No, it was a rapid rise, mainly fueled by TikTok. Thousands of accounts, many of them fake by the way, spread his populist and conspiratorial messages, pushing him from obscurity into the national spotlight almost overnight.
Domnule Georgescu, ce fel de președinte veți fi dumneavoastră și cu ce sunteți diferit față de ceilalți președinți?
În primul rând, voi pune, așa cum am anunțat, poporul și țara pe primul loc, iar pentru sistem voi aduce ceasul.
And what's more surprising is that until recently, no one had even heard of him. As a Romanian, I never heard about this guy Călin Georgescu until recently, and I'm very shocked about the amount of votes he got. No survey showed him to be relevant at all. It took all of us as surprise. We're doomed. This raises an important question. Is TikTok still just an entertainment app, or has it become a tool for election manipulation? The European Union seems to think that it is becoming dangerous, with investigations potentially being launched to explore the platform's role in this shocking victory in the first round of the Romanian elections. And of course, it's not just Romania. Across Europe, TikTok has become an important political tool, from Germany's Alternative für Deutschland, or AfD, to France's Rassemblement National, using the platform to engage young voters. TikTok has amplified far-right narratives at unprecedented scale. In Central and Eastern Europe, TikTok feeds are full of misinformation, pushing divisive messages, and often echoing conspiratorial or anti-democratic themes. As TikTok's influence grows, so does the risk to democracy. Should we just accept this as a byproduct of the digital age, or is it time to address how TikTok operates during elections? Clearly, candidates should be allowed to use their personal accounts to communicate transparently with voters, but the widespread dissemination of fake accounts must be somehow addressed. Before we get into the main arguments, let's quickly see who is Georgescu. A far-right independent candidate, he openly admires Vladimir Putin and Romania's former dictator Antonescu. His vague manifesto opposes active cooperation with the EU and NATO, while domestically focusing on reducing imports and catering to farmers. Some of his supporters have links to extremist movements, organized crime, or religious cults. So I would put him in the same category as Trump in the US, Bolsonaro in Brazil, or Orban in Hungary. Despite not participating in TV debates, Georgescu's campaign gained massive traction on TikTok 2 weeks before the election due to over 25,000 accounts, some linked to influencers and paid promotions. Romanian intelligence revealed that a Telegram group guided tactics to bypass TikTok's content verification system and mask account origins. There was also some suspicious funding, including payment from a cryptocurrency entrepreneur. Romanian intelligence also identified over 85,000 cyber attacks targeting Romania's election systems, with patterns resembling Russian disinformation campaigns. During the first round, he won 23% of the vote with a predominantly young voter base. But luckily, as of December the 6th, Romania's Constitutional Court has annulled the results of the first round, emphasizing the need to ensure the correctness and legality of the electoral process. But yeah, this underscores the power of TikTok and how damaging it can be.
3, 2, 1, top.
Let's see how this poses a threat to democracy. Elections are meant to reflect the genuine will of the people, but platforms like TikTok and their algorithms distort this balance. By prioritizing sensationalism and engagement, the platform artificially amplifies fringe candidates, sidelining other voices. Take Romania, for example. Georgescu's victory wasn't a reflection of his policy or public debate, it was a result of TikTok influencing public discourse. The agenda-setting theory could explain how platforms like TikTok can dictate what topics dominate public consciousness, sidelining other candidates in the process. The implications of this are enormous. It's not just about one election, it's about trust of the public overall. When platforms manipulate narratives, they erode the faith in the very foundation of democracy. Then there's the issue of free speech. TikTok has been incredible at democratizing access to political discourse and giving the common people the leverage that they need on certain political topics. AfD's strategy in Germany exemplifies this really well. By using TikTok to appeal to young voters, they completely bypassed the traditional media scrutiny and they blurred the line between genuine campaigning and manipulation. According to this study, the party used populist stylistic devices such as provocation, conspiracy rhetoric, emotionalization, and fear-mongering, simplifying complex issues and undermining rational discourse. What I'm saying is that free speech must come with accountability. Just as laws prohibit libel and incitement to violence, they must also protect the citizens from coordinated disinformation campaigns. Grassroots campaigns and satire are completely fine, but there's just simply no need for fake accounts. And the problem doesn't stop with domestic disinformation. TikTok, just like other platforms, has also become a tool for international interference. In Hungary, for example, pro-Russian narratives, surprise, surprise, infiltrated TikTok feeds, spreading anti-European sentiment and stoking division. Similar tactics have been observed in Slovakia and Estonia, where misinformation preys on cultural fears. And now my favorite part. Let's talk about the memification of politicians. Well, as a representative of Gen Z, I absolutely loved all the memes about Kamala Harris in the US.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context. Talking about the significance of the passage of time. Right? The significance of the passage of time. Kosher salt, fresh ground pepper. Maybe chop up a little thyme. You could also chop up, but not with the thyme, just the salt and pepper. Mix that up also with some thyme. You could even do a little rosemary if you want. The context of all in which you live and what came before you, based with butter. Yes, hi.
Or about Giorgia Meloni in Italy. So I get it, okay? I love the memes as well, but would I vote for someone just because they became a popular meme? Absolutely not. But apparently TikTok has that power on people to convince someone to vote for a politician just because they were funny for a second. And this is why I find it so interesting. Platforms like TikTok aren't just reshaping how politicians engage with voters. They are fundamentally changing what political engagement looks like. Take Jordan Bardella, the 28-year-old leader of France's far-right National Rally. With over 1 million followers on TikTok, Bardella's posts rarely focus on policies. Instead, they lean into viral trends like posing in turtlenecks, gaming, or grabbing casual drinks while carefully avoiding overt political messaging. Half of his content doesn't even mention politics directly, but instead he uses humor, punchlines, and popular memes to resonate with his audience. And here's where it gets tricky. Many viewers don't even realize they're engaging with a far-right politician. To them, Bardella is just another influencer. He's relatable, he's entertaining, and he's charismatic, but behind the memes, there's a deliberate strategy to normalize far-right ideologies among young, impressionable audiences. And of course, it's not just in France. Of course, it's not just the far right. We have the example of the Democrats in the US and the popular coconut tree meme from Kamala Harris, but research shows that far-right politicians dominate platforms like TikTok, often because they understand the platform's logic better. By packaging anti-immigrant rants or critiques of climate policy in fun, entertaining clips, they gamify political discourse, turning complex issues into shareable, reactionary moments. And, I mean, it works. In France, for example, surveys revealed that nearly a third of voters aged 18 to 24 were considering voting for Bardella's party in the elections. Many young voters say that they really like Bardella because of his funny, entertaining, and witty content without realizing the political underpinnings of it. The right simply memes better, but their goal isn't just to win over a few elections. It's to dominate over the cultural discourse and shape how young voters perceive politics. So what can be done about this? Of course, we can't stop candidates from going viral on TikTok, but the process can be made more transparent and more accountable. One of the most obvious measures would be to require TikTok to verify all political accounts, especially during the election period. Another important possible measure would be to require TikTok to include disclaimers or context for heavily edited videos like political debates or disinformation campaigns, to make sure that a viewer that has no prior knowledge about the situation would get the important context and not get easily influenced. And I think it's also completely fair to enforce penalties on platforms that fail to remove fake accounts or disinformation promptly. So far, TikTok hasn't been very successful at it, and something needs to be done. There are so many other policies that could be implemented, and I wouldn't go into too much detail here, but another thing to keep in mind is that the enforcement of these policies remains the biggest challenge. AI systems are already being used to detect bots and disinformation campaigns, but they still have a long way to go. Combining AI with independent audits and appeals processes could improve the enforcement process. Another point of concern is linked to the question of bias. Could these policies unfairly target certain political ideologies? Of course, to avoid that, regulations must be applied equally to all parties, because this isn't about silencing one side, for example, the right. It's more about protecting the democratic integrity overall. So I really think it's extremely important to curb manipulation, promote transparency, and foster accountability to really ensure that platforms like TikTok empower voters rather than deceive them. So from Romania to Georgia and across the digital landscape, we must ask ourselves, how do we want these platforms to shape our future? Because memes can be so fun and entertaining, but we must ensure that democracy remains in the hands of the people. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching it, and see you in the next one.